Hello, welcome to Forest Focus, the only Nottingham Forest podcast to ever talk about a win for their team. Until now, Nottingham Forest have beaten Newcastle United on Boxing Day. Incredible performance. I'm not supposed to say I can't believe it, but in a sense, I really can't believe it. Let's introduce our guest. The second one's logged on because he's a glory hunter. After talking about some terrible results, I'll come to the loyal one first in Michael Temple. Temps, happy Christmas. Are you well?
Yeah, good, mate. Do you think Sutherns would have left us alone if that had been a defeat on the road?
I might have left that to you, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the voice you hear there is Mark Sutherns, who his two previous post-match streams have been, 5-0 Fulham, Cooper's last game, but today is our day, is Nottingham Forest Day, is Chris Wood's day. Someone said Matt's going to mention his FPL team, so I'll get it in early. Set first sub 2 games in a row, that's my fault. What a day for Forest. Temps, kick us off. I said to you, I said it on the air, I can't believe it. What's your take on it?
It was just a day that Chris Wood turned into R9 Ronaldo, wasn't it? Just so deadly in the box, and that was the difference. What we did in their 18-yard box, won us the game, wasn't always pretty. First off, I thought we rode our luck a little bit. We were quite wasteful in possession, couldn't get a foothold. The interesting thing for me with Nuno is the way he went straight back to plan A from the start of this season, i.e. building a team around Gibbs White, giving him the runners, giving him the striker, giving him 2 minders. The minders didn't quite work out from the off. Elanga had that complete mismatch against Dan Burn, and that was one of the difference makers on the day. But for me, the telling contributions were from Chris Wood, and the rest is history.
What about you, Mark? Obviously delighted, but what did you make of it overall before we break it down into more detail?
Yeah, I mean, I was just shocked by the team sheet, first of all. I was like, well, we're playing the 2 wingers and Wood and Gibbs White behind away from home. I was like, yeah, it was brave. And I think he obviously looked at it, Nuno, and went, we can have a go at this lot, because they obviously are struggling fatigue-wise. They've had injuries. Maybe Botman and Byrne have come back too soon, and it looked that way. They were both really, really leggy. And I think the team just went out with that mentality that we can catch them here. And we, for the first time away from home in a long, long time, attacked with some conviction and courage, like with getting men forward at pace, giving the man with possession some options at last. And that's the difference. It's like when we had the ball, when we attacked Newcastle, we had 2 or 3 options either side. And when Wood was up front fighting for it, there were people around him. So he had, he was winning bits and pieces, and the ball was falling to a red shirt some of the time, which we just haven't seen. So, yeah, I just had to take the opportunity to come on after the 2 results that I previously commented on. That was just an incredible performance.
As Mark says, Temps, we'll come on to Chris Wood, obviously, but you have to give Nuno a lot of credit. We look at that team sheet, Sangare and Danilo in the middle. I was thinking, I'm not sure about that. He's changed both fullbacks. Poor old Toffolo's been left out completely. We might mention that later, but a very bold team selection. But he's exploited what he sees as weaknesses in Newcastle, and he deserves a huge slice of credit today, doesn't he?
Absolutely right. It's a rapid reset. He's brought boys back in from the cold, who found themselves ostracised, specifically Sangare, Danilo, Gibbs White in his preferred position at least. He's given confidence to Wood and Elanga. I think that was the most important thing. He couldn't have come in and been hamstrung by what he's seen in the previous 5-6 matches when Forest were cycling between plan B, plan C, plan D. And what he's done now with that win is just put all that behind us, removed the supporter debate, silence, I suppose, the likes of me who were advocates for Cooper for a long period of time. He's now made it about him, about this group of players, and about the potential that the group has to look up the table, because already with that win, it's becoming more and more compacted. So while I was surprised to see so many changes, you can see the logic behind it. Gibbs White, the armband, and like I say, then it almost worked outwards from there. Knows that he's at his best as he's receiving the ball on the half turn in the pocket, needs a 9 to occupy centre halves, needs gas out wide to occupy defenders, and Gibbs White's very clever at finding that space between the midfield line and the back 4, and so it told today. Needs to establish the platform with the defensive 2, but he's gone for I think the best 2 technically gifted, most all-round centre midfielders that he has in Danilo and Sangare on their day. Mangala, the unlucky fella, he looked a little bit lightweight for the first time in the previous home game, didn't he? So he's the one that can count himself a little bit unlucky. But that aside, I can see the logic in the selections that he made, the way he asked them to play, and most importantly, he's convinced the players to turn a plan into action, which was what was lacking in the previous few weeks. I think a few sides now will look at Forest in a slightly different light now that the new manager bounce is translated into an immediate win, and players that were sat in that igloo coming back into the fold and making telling contributions.
It's not really like what we expected from Nuno as well, Mark. I know people expected boring football. I mean, in terms of the formation, 4-2-3-1, I expected 3-4-3. I expected to be tight and conservative on the road. And we, gone at Newcastle time again. I was watching it thinking, we've got to take one of these chances. We've got to take one of these chances. And we created, Newcastle were poor, but we created 7 or 8, big chances to score goals today.
Yeah, and the thing is, the lineup set the stall out, didn't it? Because we could have gone there with and tried to park the bus and played a low block and whatever you want to call it, and we didn't. And the team, like I say, performed with that in mind. There was a game plan to hit them quickly and with numbers, and we did that. And yeah, it's just so refreshing to see that belief that we could cause an opponent problem in their own backyard. Which, whenever we've gone away from home for the past couple of seasons, we just start so tentatively. We have some of the ball, but we never really show any, we don't put the ball at risk. We don't attack in numbers. We're very conservative even when we do go forward. But that wasn't the case today. We were like flooding forward, and Newcastle couldn't cope with it. And, I think Elanga was probably his most direct I've seen him. He just did the simple things. Get the ball and run with it. Run forward with it, because not many people can live with you if you do that. Whereas, in previous performances, he's perhaps overcomplicated a bit and his end product let him down. It did today. He should have squared it for Wood the first time, and we should have scored that first attack. But just the fact we're talking about multiple chances in an away game is just so refreshing, isn't it?
And the way he took his goals as well, Temps, the drag back, he's done it twice, but it's worked twice. The clip over the keeper, like you say, I said prime Messi, you say prime Ronaldo. What a debate to have.
There's some technical brilliance in the first one as well, and he runs to the near post first. And it's that second piece of movement. Once the centre half has to check back to see what the wide man's doing, he's covering for Byrne, who's just had his pants pulled down, hasn't he? As I think I joked to you in the WhatsApp group before, Matt. It reminded me of my kind of latter seasons in Saturday football when quick lads were just waltzing past me. Dan Byrne was terrorised throughout the game. And so it was borne out in the first goal. But then just to pull off that front stick and give himself the easiest of finishes for the first. But the technical brilliance of the scissors for the second, lifting the ball over the keeper's legs, and just sheer composure for the third. Never offside, by the way. How that took 45 seconds, I'll never know. Again, referring to my level of football, that goal never gets given. The Oppo sub-lino is flagging that 10 times out of 10. But even from one glance at a single replay from the broadcast angle, you could see that he arched that run to perfection. The first touch was delicate, and he did nothing wrong from there. So yeah, wouldn't it be nice if from within the squad we found the improvement that we need in the backup number 9 spot, and Chris Wood has become there and in flashes at stages this season, and what we all hoped he would be. He was truly excellent today. And yeah, that's a video he'll like watching for a long time, because all of the facets of good centre forward play, the timing of the run, the deftness of the finish, the technical ability, the strength and the composure was all there to see. It was an all-round performance from a player that's had some stick from me and others, but he deserves the match ball and all the plaudits today.
Yeah, and he should have celebrated. I mean, I don't know why he didn't celebrate, but who cares about that? The question I'll throw at you, Mark, a real knee-jerk question that Temps hinted at there is, we've said all December we've got to buy a striker to cover Taiwo. Well, Taiwo's supposed to be 2 or 3 weeks away. Nuno Wood's got 4 goals and an assist in 2 games. Are you still going out and buying a striker or not?
Yeah, of course. We got to, because I think we've seen the 2 seasons with Taiwo that he's injury prone, and we've got a problem there. And we don't want to be exposed and only have one strike. I mean, right now we've got Wood and Origi. That's not good enough. So we've got to, moving forward, if Taiwo is going to be that kind of player who over a season will pick up 1 or 2 injuries that knock him out for 10 games, we've got to get more. We've got to get 4 strikers. So we haven't got that. So we should go and buy someone. Now, that might be someone that doesn't have to be an end product straight away. It can be someone who's got potential maybe now if Taiwo is back. So really the timing of his return could change the target for the window, I would say. we could perhaps go looking at those Brazilian wonder kids that were kind of on the agenda before. So perhaps that's a possibility now if Taiwo is back and we're happy with his recovery and we think that he's ready for the rest of the campaign. But I would certainly say that we still go and buy a backup striker for sure.
I'll just give you the case for the defence at that point. Are we doing that from a position of strength, Mark, in so much as with the performance, the goal contributions, the assist for Elanga in the previous game, the second goal against Bournemouth, what he's done today, as Chris Wood not earned a little bit more respect from Forest fans? And I count myself in this. It's taken some time to convince me. But two, in having what I've just described for going for Morgan Gibbs-White, that's clearly brought a lot more out of Chris Wood. Confidence is such a critical factor in any striker's run of form. I'd make the case for kicking Origi out the other side and looking for someone in on loan. But I just fear if we prioritised a third player, with Taiwo looking to come back and own that one spot really in a 4-4-1, with Chris Wood finding this form, will questions be being asked internally as to whether we need to prioritise elsewhere, particularly with so many players being kicked out to the nation. So yeah, this might be me in a rare bit of knee-jerkism, but I'm less convinced now than I was 2 weeks ago that we need to go and buy a starting number 9 in the window.
Yeah.
I think you might need to move those headphones away from that, no doubt, very expensive shirt, Temp. So there was a little bit of a bit of noise. So next time you talk, just take the shirt off, perhaps. Is this the template now, Mark, formation, tactic-wise? Because as good as we were first half, like I said, we half the time we looked a total mess, a disjointed mess, and thrown together, but still created a lot of chances. Second half we were great, but do you see the foundations of a team emerging quickly now?
Well, I think he's going to. What I see is that Nuno's going to be brave, and he's not going to play a team that's going to be on back foot. So I think that 4 at the back is probably here to stay now. We thought that under Cooper, and I think Cooper went back to the back 3 because he felt that we needed to go back to getting result based business and try and get some points out of the Wolves visit, for example. I think now Nuno's set his stall out. We are going to play 4 at the back. We are going to be more expansive. And I think getting players around Wood was key. Gibbs-White was just fantastic today. He was all over the place. He wasn't just in a traditional 10 role. He was just tirelessly working across that line between the lines. And he was so effective. And then when he did win possession or had possession, he had 2 players wide. So I think with United's visit next weekend, what's to fear? We're going to play that team again, aren't we? And I think we're going to cause them a lot of problems because, they're not the strongest at fullback. I think that they're there to be got at. And I don't think they'll come to the City ground with anything but a little bit of fear and trepidation now, having seen us get the 3 points at Newcastle.
Yeah, Wood this week, Elanga next week, Temps. He'll fancy it. There's a template there, like Mark said in our WhatsApp group. They found a way to use Elanga better than Steve Cooper managed generally. I think you've got to be optimistic about Man United now, regardless of whatever Luton and Sheffield United do and other results. This is, we can win enough games to be just fine this season, but we've got to be consistently to this level.
Well, just to the Elanga point, I think when your elite attribute is pace, you're easy to manage, aren't you? So he's made the tactical adjustment to put him to match him up against their slowest defender. He's perhaps slightly more comfortable coming off the left. They decided to chuck Callum Hudson-Odoi out there to match Trippier up in a different way, and so it bore out. And then it was down to the supply around him to give him opportunities to exploit that mismatch, and we did time and time again. There was an instance first half where he should have squared it. I think half of Nottingham was shouting, "Square it!" One of my mates texted to say he swore in front of the mother-in-law at that particular moment in time. So yeah, his decision making isn't always there, but elite level pace against any fullback and the right service will give him 3, 4, 5, 6 moments in a game where he can make a difference. And as long as he's contributing in the manner that he has been in recent weeks, he'll continue to be a regular starter for Forest. To the Man United point, I think it was said in commentary that Man U at this point don't have a winger who's as productive as Anthony Elanga. I think that's true, but I think their deficiencies and weaknesses go far beyond that. They've got a 9 that can't score. They're picking veterans at centre half. They're not getting the best out of Bruno Fernandes. So yeah, great time to play against Man United. there's going to be a hell of a reception at home next up. So no, I don't fear Man United at this moment in time. I think that's the point that Nuno will now drill into the squad that he's got. The window's still closed when we play Man U. This is what he's with. There's clearly more improvement to come from within. Hopefully now there's a lot of hungry footballers. They've all been shown the doors open. They can play their way back in. They've got a reason to get into Nuno's thoughts and be there for the rest of the season. Montiel's another good example of that. He's earned another start against Man United. Ola Aina has earned another start against Man United. In fact, the only one that'll go missing is Sangare, who got a bit of a needless yellow card and has now found himself in what's been a bitty Bobby season for him, out of the limelight and away from an opportunity to earn that shirt. But yeah, we'll go into the Man United game with our tails up. And I think manager, playing group and supporters have reason to be optimistic. And I love that negative element of Man U fans when it creeps in. When they're having a bad run, they can get a little bit poisonous, can't they? So let's hope that comes to pass next time out.
If you're enjoying this video, do us a favour and like and subscribe. Help us out as we enjoy a happy conversation for once on this podcast in the last 2 weeks. So certainly that'd be good if you can subscribe. And thanks as ever to our sponsors, the Trent Navigation. Always appreciate their support as well. I'm sure there's a few people enjoying a beer down there today. If we just lump together those players, Mark, that have come back in, generally Montiel, Aina, Sangare, I think they were the ones that primarily came in from the cold. What did you make of them? Yeah,
I thought Montiel was solid. Never got exposed. Never looked vulnerable. I mean, it's not an easy opponent up against Gordon, of course, who's caused a lot of fullbacks trouble this season. So I thought we did well. Unnecessary booking. I think when your fullback gets booked, you always worry, don't you? I mean, it means that he can't be so committed in challenges. So I think that's something he's got to cut out his game. He arrived in the Premier League with a record of picking up bookings and sendings off over in Spain. So he's got to get his discipline straight. But other than that, really solid performance. I was pleased to see Sangare back in the fold quickly. I want him to be a factor in our future, obviously, because we've obviously invested a lot of money in him. I do think there's a player there for sure. And, just getting the best out of him is going to be key to our success. And obviously Nuno's embraced that, thrown him straight in and will be seeking to get the best from him. It's a shame he's going to miss the next game because obviously he goes away to AFCON after that as well. So that's the last we'll see of him now for quite a while, depending on how far he gets in the tournament. But when he gets back, he's going to be key, I think. So, yeah, I was pleased to see that. And Aina, I think at times, it looks good on the ball, doesn't he? Defended okay. I mean, it was a careless challenge for the penalty. I thought that wasn't, that showed a bit of naivety in the penalty area. You don't dangle a leg there when there's players like Isak about. So he was at fault for that, I think. But there was progress there. And I just pleased to see them back in the fold and our factors because we're going to need the squad depth. I mean, we talked about Mangala not playing. I think he will start against United, Mangala, and Danilo will be out. I think it was rotating the resources that we had, get some fresh legs on because we knew Newcastle. Eddie Howe picks the same team almost every game. We knew if we refreshed a few players' positions, we'd have more energy on the pitch than they would, and exactly how it proved. They look really leggy all over the pitch, and players like Danilo, who hadn't had 90 minutes recently, were able to cover a lot of ground and make the difference. So, again, it was really logical what Nuno did there, but I would expect to see a few changes for United with that in mind.
You think he was giving Temps just you don't write off games? Of course, we won this one, but maybe he's having a look at one or two. Montiel, you need to make a very quick decision on. I think Toffolo's been really good, and I still have him in the team over Aina right now. But is it Nuno just having a look at some of these players and saying, right, make a statement and see what you can do? And they've gone out and done it, to be fair.
I think he took a dispassionate look at the names available and picked what could be considered as the best team on paper. So dismissing form, dismissing accusations of lack of effort from particular players at particular times. He put his World Cup winner at right back. He put his £35 million man centre mid. He put one of last season's most dynamic players in Danilo back in centre mid. He kept faith with Murillo at centre half. He pulled Aina in, who'd been in and out through no real fault of his own. So I could see the logic, like Mark said, in the decisions that he made. So no, I don't think it was necessarily that. He just wanted, I suppose, also he wanted to try and get players playing for him to see if he could get a different reaction a different level of performance from what's gone in recent weeks. But I don't think there was any reckless decisions that he made. It was beyond anything else, it was a signal to every single player in that squad that my door is open, clean slate, show me what you can do. I've thrown away the DVDs. Season starts today.
Danilo was an interesting one, Mark. I don't want to admit after 35 minutes, I'm in our WhatsApp group saying, please take Danilo off at half time for his own sake. He's having a nightmare.
You weren't that polite. You didn't say please.
But second half, I thought he was better. I'm not saying he was brilliant, but he was much better on the ball. He was looked much more assured, as all the players did. What did you make of Danilo overall?
Yeah, I liked him. As I said, he brought a lot of energy to the midfield. I don't like him in a deeper role because I think he can be a bit careless in possession and get caught. And as we know, a lot of the Premier League is about winning the ball high up and transitions. And if you've got a player like Danilo who can get caught in possession or can make a stray pass, that's what worries me. So when he's in the 6 position, when he's deeper alongside Sangare today, I worry a bit that he's just going to be a bit lax. He's going to get caught out. I think that's how it was first half. Second half, it was a bit better. I prefer him in the kind of more advanced position if he's going to start a game. But obviously, Gibbs White's got that role now. When I saw the team sheet, I thought it was going to be Gibbs White along Sangare and Danilo further forward, but it wasn't. So interesting. I think Nuno's still looking to get the right formula there in that midfield. He's got a lot of options. Dominguez came on today, of course, who we can't rule out being a factor. Yates, of course, who started against Bournemouth. So that's the good thing. We knew we had squad depth. We just felt that some of that squad just wasn't up to the job. But if Nuno can get that rest of that squad back to a good level as well, suddenly we've got real depth, which we're going to need. And that is the advantage we've got over Sheffield United, Burnley and Luton. We've said before, in previous podcasts, we've said that they are creeping closer and closer to us in terms of points. And perhaps we were questioning whether we got the quality. One thing we have got over them, squad depth. They haven't got 24 players of the same level that we've got. So while their first 11 could probably compete with ours, I don't think their squad can. So we've got to use that. We've got to use that to get ourselves clear of relegation. I think Nuno, with his selection today and what we've seen so far, he's setting his stall out to do just that.
Let's look at a few match specifics then, Temps. Obviously, we go behind to that penalty. A lot of people on Twitter said it wasn't a penalty. I think it's one of those that if the ref gives it, it's going to stay on with the on-the-field decision. Or what did you make of it?
Well, look, here's 2 quite calm and measured VAR rants for you. Firstly, you can look at the Niakate one when there's no card given. You can look at anything when there's a red card given, but you can't look at anything when there's a yellow card given. Like, whoever designed that is clueless, hasn't played the game, doesn't understand it, and has made a key mistake. Second one, there's this huge lane between what is a penalty and not a penalty, which is basically referee's choice, referee's decision, that human subjectivity that allows an instance like today not to be overturned because it's not a clear and obvious mistake, but not to be given or taken away if the referee makes a different decision. It's not a penalty for me. I wouldn't have called for it if it was at the other end. He's made an absolute meal of the faintest bit of contact. It hasn't really affected him. He could have stayed on his feet and forced a chance. Could you argue that it's clever play from a striker who understands those shades between a black and white decision? Absolutely, yes. He's won a penalty for his side, and it's put them 1-0 up in the game. But it's not a penalty. If the referee doesn't give it, it doesn't get given by VAR. So I'll tell you my stance on VAR: keep it, but address those 2 instances. Let the fellow with the 25 cameras make an objective decision if it's a penalty or not, regardless of what the ref says. And let's tweak that rule to allow needless yellow cards to be overturned instantly, because it takes no longer than all of these other instances that are stopping and starting our game. So, yeah, I'm for VAR, but those 2 nuances are beyond infuriating.
I do agree with Temps about that. The bandwidth for like umpire's call in cricket terminology, Mark, is massive. It feels like they just want to back the referee's decision too much. I do disagree with Temps about if it was at the other end and our player went down like that, I'd want a penalty. But what was your take on it?
Wasn't a pen. I agree with Temps. I think that once the referee gives it, it is a pen, because at the moment what we're seeing, the trend is that VAR are not going to overrule they're not going to make a judgment on whether a touch is enough for that player to go down. I think 6 months ago, when we went through a phase of, oh no, it's got to be the necessary force for the player to go down, otherwise we don't give the penalty. There was a phase during that window where suddenly they were overruling the ref a few times and saying, oh no, that wasn't enough contact, or the ref wasn't giving it on the pitch if you saw a slight touch. This one, Isak felt the touch, and then you see there's a slight delay in when he turns away, then he goes down because it registers with him that he's had the touch. Oh, I'll go down now. So it isn't an instant impact and he's down. There is some, you can see them. It's whirring in his head as he turns and he takes the fall. And so for me, that touch wasn't enough to make him fall as he did, and it wasn't a penalty. But once the ref gives it, we're knowing now the trend is VAR don't overrule those.
No, I think Greg Orme does make a good point though. Like, Aina doesn't need to dangle a leg there. He's got to be a bit street smart than that, because that's exactly what Isak's looking for. But we responded well, Temps. I mean, even early on, actually, Gibbs White had a really good chance inside 2 minutes. But, we created 4 or 5 good chances. Elanga, absolutely criminal, as you say. But the way we responded really encouraged me, because we've seen so many times one brings two, to go back to cricket terms. We can see goals in bursts. We didn't do that here, and we responded really, really well.
Yeah, let your flair players take risk, have less defensive responsibility, make mistakes, and encourage them to go out there and do it again. The one that wasn't really picked up and wasn't replayed on the telly was the long throw from Niakate, which bounced in the 6-yard box. And Elanga just dangled his leg out. That was a gilt-edged chance even before he failed to square it for Chris Wood. But yeah, no criticism of those two, because that is the hallmark of a confident player who's not afraid to make mistakes, will take risks in difficult positions. And ultimately, what comes of it? We see the break from Gibbs White, delays the pass, and then a lovely weighted pass into Elanga, draws his man, makes the right choice, and it's the simplest of goals. They both had moments before that in the game which could have knocked their confidence, could have got us fans on their back, could have drawn derision from some of their teammates, but they stuck at it and did their job today. So yeah, we have to forgive those two in particular, because they are the spark that's going to at least create the goals. And credit to Gibbs White as well, because I know his overall production hasn't quite carried the level that we've come to expect from a player given his role in the team, or the transfer fee that he commanded. But that pass before the assist is crucial too. And if he is going to be the fulcrum of the team, if we are going to put him in the 10 spot and select players around him that are going to get the best out of him, then we have to credit him for that too. So yes, early chances went begging, but they made amends with that first goal.
Yeah. Christian says there's only 91 likes on the video, so do us a favour, smash the like button.
Smash it.
Mark. Smash it. That would be great. Gibbs White as well, Mark. I mean, he broke a lot of lines. Something we've lacked, is to have us running at a broken field. It's normally been the other way around this season. And he could have scored a goal. He had an early shot. He had that header like 20 seconds into the second half as well. The way we started the second half was massively encouraging. I know I keep saying it, but I couldn't believe a lot of what I was seeing.
No, that's it for me as well, because it was key. It was like, again, we talk about the bravery of the team selection. He must have been brave with what he said at halftime as well, because within 10 seconds, Singawi's fizzed the ball in to Elanga at a pace, and Elanga's beaten Burn again, got the cross in, and Gibbs White's got forward into the box as well. So clearly they've come out having been told at halftime they're there for the taking. Just keep doing what you're doing. Play with confidence, play with courage, and that's what we saw. You've got to believe that was the gist of what Nuno's halftime talk was, because what we saw on the pitch was just more of the same. It wasn't, oh look, we've got the equaliser, let's sit back for 20 minutes and catch them in the last quarter of the game. None of that. It was go for it, go for the throat straight away. And that was what's so good. Not just the fact that Elanga got away, but Gibbs White was getting into the box. This is what's important. Gibbs White can play in the 10, but you've got to give him options. And today he did have options. He had Hudson-Odoi one side, Elanga one side, the other side, Wood down the middle. Time and time again this season, when Gibbs White does get the ball in the half turn, you look at all he's got is Wood surrounded by 3 defenders. He's got no options, so you can't get the best from Gibbs White. The best from Gibbs White is runners. If you've got runners, Gibbs White can get the ball there at the right pace to get people opportunities, and that's exactly what he did. But so few occasions have we seen that. So what's encouraging for me is just like we might have a manager who can get more out of Gibbs White, which I couldn't. I always thought Cooper and Gibbs White had that relationship where we were seeing the best of him, but perhaps we weren't. Perhaps we're about to see more from Morgan Gibbs White, which is just really exciting.
At what point did you believe we won? I'll ask you each of that quickly.
At 2-1, I was screaming, just manage it now. We don't need to do silly things. We need to temper it, get the banks there, and then out of nowhere, Murillo pings that arrowhead pass, doesn't he? And it's 3-1, and then I'm chilling, mate. I went to get some leftover turkey out the fridge and just give myself a bit of a snack at that point. Yeah, pressure was off. We do need to have a little serious chat about Murillo, because the best of him is unbelievable, but he's still bombing up for free kicks and corners with 5 minutes to go. In the first 30 minutes, he was trying to meg folk in his own box. He was playing balls at pace into Morgan Gibbs-White in our own third, back to goal at pace, and balls coming back in. It's okay every now and again in the Premier League to clear your lines. And I don't, we just spoke about creative freedom for Morgan Gibbs-White and Anthony Elanga. As much as I love Murillo and the run that he went on, and some of the busting challenges he went into, and sometimes when he goes into a cul-de-sac and comes out with a cigar on and 3 defenders on the floor behind him, it's incredible. But every now and again, Rosed's fine.
Yeah, you can't be dragging a tyre getting back either. You know, that chance, I can't remember what happened, but it took him so long to get back.
So in a caravan at that point.
Yeah, exactly. When did you believe we won, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things there on that. I really like the fact that Nuno didn't immediately bring Joe Worrell on with 20 minutes to go and we went free at the back, and we just left it as it was. We went 3-1 up and there was no changes. He took Sangare and Montiel off, which was the right call because they were both on a booking. That made sense. But he didn't automatically go, right, we're going to go low block now. He just left the same personnel on. And we were containing Newcastle successfully anyway. So he didn't need to make a formation change. When he made it was stoppage time, which was the right thing to do when you think kitchen sink time. I'll bring up, that's when we go 5 at the back. That's when it's Coyote and it's Wall coming on. He didn't do it earlier, and that's what I really liked, because I think a few times, I don't want to make comparison to Cooper, but you look at the Luton game, it did disrupt us. We were 2-0 up. He made a change at the back. He justified it by saying Bolly was fatigued, but it did disrupt us in a winning position, whereas today Nuno didn't do that. I think he made the changes to the formation at the right time just to contain and see it out. So I think our game management was spot on today, which again was a real positive, because at times we've not seen that when in winning positions. Well, not at times, most of the time. The other thing was on Murillo. I watched the Bournemouth performance and thought Murillo was kind of playing within himself. He didn't, not many long passes. He didn't, come forward at all. Didn't really have many opportunities for that. So I thought, oh, Nuno's have a word with him. He's told him to contain that. Today it was all back on again, and of course a brilliant assist for Wood's goal. I think what's exciting with Murillo is that link up with Big T, with Tayo when he comes back in. We've got someone who can deliver a long ball and get into the channels for Taiwo, and that's going to be exciting. Today we saw it, and obviously it laid on the goal for Wood. But it's just like Temp says, we've just got to get the right balance with Murillo. We've got a special player who can do special things, but I just think we just need to get it right. Like there's just the decision making sometimes is off, like Temp says. So yeah, but it's just fantastic to be talking about a game with so many positive aspects to pick out.
Yeah. I will say that defensive pairing does worry me a little bit. Newcastle really treads the line. I know you've mentioned it before, Temps, about, what is it, crisis defending or something. He doesn't seem to handle a crisis overly well.
Forest call it extreme defending, or at least they did in the Cooper era, and that's it. Like what do you do 1v1 mano a mano when you're on an island with a player? Decisions in the box can concede penalties with 25 cameras and 2 refs at Stockley Park having a look. Do you make the right decision? There were a couple of times today he did go with 2 feet, albeit low, and he missed Guimaraes, who made a real mess of it. The arms were up after the Turner save when we were scrambling it in defence. So that's what we want to see from Musa. Just fourth gear, cool head in those moments where extreme defending comes to the fore, because he has all of the physical attributes. He can pass. He does have the pace to recover. You just know he gets that little bit overhyped, and that can cost you a goal in the Premier League. But he was decent today, and I think we've been better for having him back around the squad.
Worrell's an interesting one, Mark. I know Forest Twitter, he's now public enemy number 1, but there's 2 sides to the story, and we'll probably hear both of them way down the line. But in terms of man management, he's brought Joe back in today. It's a 6-minute cameo, but he's made 2 really nice headers that will probably do him the world of good. I bet he was really nervous coming onto that pitch after what happened at Luton. Again, just good man management by Nuno to show that the door's open for anyone.
Yeah, because after United, we lose Bolly and we lose Newcastle. They're both off to AFCON. So Joe Worrell's got to get minutes. So it made absolute sense to get him on the pitch today. And we'll probably see him on the pitch to some degree against United as well. Because is he going to be in the starting lineup after that? Because, you know, we'll have Murillo, but who's he going to play alongside Murillo? So is Felipe going to come back into the fold then? We haven't got that many options when you lose Newcastle and you lose Bolly, which is what's happening. So absolutely, Joe's going to be really valuable to us over that period.
Yeah, I mean, Omar Bamidele's probably the only player who hasn't had a look in yet, so maybe he does against Man United, possibly so. Right, we're probably winding down slowly here, Temps. What about general optimism now? Obviously, Mark mentions AFCON. It does present a slightly sticky situation for 3 or 4 game weeks if, you know, Ivory Coast go far or something like that. But in general optimism, is it, you know, are we going to get way too far ahead of ourselves and, you know, think we're safe, we're flying now, or should we still be worried? Where are you at?
No, we're not going to be relegated or be in any relegation trouble, but you don't want that conversation to continue for any length of time, do you? We would have been sat here today talking about a game being written off, an experimental lineup and all the rest of it if we hadn't got the result that we did. So it's only results, and to a lesser extent performances, that they're going to stop us looking over our shoulder. Luton are playing Sheffield United now, and by the end of that game, that the gap from the bottom 3 may well only be 2 points. But I think we've showed today, and we've shown in flashes throughout the season, there's more than enough in this squad to score the goals and to compete with the teams we need to compete with, to ease ourselves away from relegation. There are some serious challenges to consider. Mark's AFCON point is critical, isn't it? It hadn't quite dawned on me how sparse that centre defence pile will be. Having been blessed with such a long list of names at the start of the season, Aurier disappears as well, who stood in there at certain points. So that'll be a real challenge. The debate around the 9, finally nailing down who these 3 are going to be centre mid, and if we're going to persevere with the wingers. But I think some of the answers will come from within, like we've seen today. The emergence of Montiel, the reintegration of couple of central midfielders, the re-establishment of Morgan Gibbs-White at number 10. I think there's more of that to come. And if he can maintain that form, the support of the players around him, we'll ease ourselves. I'm not going to say cruise away. We'll ease ourselves away from this bottom 3.
I'll come back to Mark on that. There's one player I wanted to talk about who I totally forgot about, who was on my notes. Matt Turner, Temps. I was watching the game with my brother, who's a Wolves fan, who hasn't seen Matt Turner. And after 15 minutes, he said he's not a Premier League goalkeeper, because he just didn't command his box and his kicking terrified him, he said to me when I asked him why. Probably not a conversation for right now because we've won a game and, you know, he's going to keep his place, I'm sure. But any worries there from today? You know, the penalty, we didn't ask how he tried to save the penalty. It looked weird, but then he's made a couple of decent saves at, you know, on half time and second half. I don't know, am I digging, you know, should I even be mentioning Matt Turner today after a win?
Yeah, look, we're all thinking it, aren't we? That was a great performance, great result, but... And if you looked at his contributions to the game today, there were a couple of flaps. There was a bizarre instance towards the back end of the game where he could have caught a ball two-handed chest high. He decided to flap it back out. I think the thing that worries me most is the obvious lack of confidence when there's the ball at his feet. He tries to run around it. He's not ever so comfortable playing with his left peg. His best pass of the season was his first one to Nico Williams today when he came on. He telegraphed him with an absolute arrow 20 yards in front of him. Nico didn't break stride, pulled it out of the sky, and we were on the attack. But too many times he spoons it out. First half, we were trying to play triangles with Danilo, Niakate, and Turner. I think every Forest fan at St James's and watching on Amazon was having heart palpitations. So no, he's not the answer long term. He might be just ahead of Odysseus Vlachodimos, but I think we'll see a keeper change in the summer, if not before. He just isn't instilling the confidence that we need to be the side that we want to be.
Mark, Matt Turner, if you want, and also big picture, how we're looking now.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative, but Matt Turner he's so unconventional in what he does as well. Even when he makes saves, it doesn't put me at ease. And there was an incident in the second half where Newcastle was running back with Wilson, and I was just screaming for Turner to just throw himself, put yourself at risk. You've got to do that as a goalkeeper. You might get hurt. Henderson did that. Henderson would have been right on top of that and in the mix and drawing the foul from Wilson if Wilson did go in with studs up. Turner was hesitant and he was waiting for the ball to run to him. Now, is that a lack of bravery and courage? I don't know, but he's like that on crosses as well. So it does make me speculate that maybe he's not as brave as he needs to be when there's a crowded goal mouth or when there's a 50-50 like that. And that just spreads anxiety and nervousness. Like Niakate could have fouled Wilson there because he wasn't sure whether Turner was going to come. Turner should have been running and making that an easy decision for Niakate. So there's big problems there. I think we've got to get someone in January. For me, that's a measure of how Nuno has assessed his squad, because I think any Premier League manager worth his salt would have looked at this and gone, we need a keeper. If Lakodimos isn't good enough to play over Turner, we need a keeper. So, because Turner isn't the solution for the rest of the season, it puts the defence, as I say, on a level of anxiety that doesn't make me as a supporter feel comfortable. So I think that's got to change. Yeah, I'm not so confident we're out of the woods. I mean, I just think it's a huge positive, though, the result. It's what Nuno needed early in his tenure, and we've got it very early. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be the United game, perhaps, where that was take-off, but we've got it one game early, and I think now we've got the United game where we can just double down and get another 3 points maybe, and a big result in front of a big City ground crowd. So we're ahead of schedule, I think, on what I thought would happen, but I don't think we're out of it yet. We've got to make some acquisitions in January that are clever and add to what we've got. But what I did see that was positive today was those players back in the fold who, if Nuno can get, something from them, a tune from them, if Chris Woods can be a viable backup now because we've got a way of playing with him, we've got options that other teams don't have, which should see us pull clear, I think.
Let's end on a traditional podcast note then. Temps, any other business, any final words?
Well, I can see why you asked me to take my my dad shirt off now, because you two have always been texting each other and coordinating your dress with your matching black T-shirt. So the bit I'm disappointed in, Matt, is you showed me a picture over Christmas. You've now been printing your own Forest Focus merch, and I just wondered why you weren't wearing it today.
Oh, because it's a coat. Hang on, I'll see if I can dig it out. My brother, who owns a camper van that he does merch for, got me a Forest Focus coat. And my missus got a Forest Focus 5-a-side kit for all the family. Well, only 4 of us, but yeah, that was good. And there was a mug, so I'm sure there'll have to be a merch shop for mugs in the new year. Temps is ever the commercial man, isn't he? He's teed me up for that, knowing exactly that I'd have to say all this. So yeah, well, keep an eye out for Forest Focus merch in the new year. Mark, any other business, any final words from you?
No, it's just for me. I was kind of like preparing some groundwork to work on my partner to allow me to go to the United game, because this is a family time around Christmas. I'm going to double down on those efforts now after that performance. I'm going to have to pull out all the stops to make sure I'm there on Saturday, because I do not want to miss that. And I'm just looking forward to the atmosphere from that game, because it felt like it was special against Bournemouth, but I think against United, it's going to be another level, particularly off that springboard that we saw today. So I'm just pleased to be smiling on this podcast for the first time. So very happy.
I'll be there on Saturday. Yeah, my daughter's coming to that as well. She's looking forward to it, obviously, now. So, yeah, hopefully make a proper fan of her. The only thing I was going to add was well done, Brennan Johnson. For what did he do, Temps? You knew what he did. He paid for what? Yeah,
it's a brilliant charity called Guru Nanak's Mission, who feed the homeless and anyone in need. In fact, in and around Nottingham, they dish out food on the streets in the city centre, but they're often commissioned for special occasions too. So Brennan paid for the charity to feed everybody at A&E, the staff, anyone that was around at that moment in time. He didn't seek publicity, although the charity have mentioned it now, so I don't feel like I'm betraying any confidences in passing it on. But yeah, credit to Brennan for dipping into his pocket and feeding those that needed it at Queen's Med.
Yeah, well done, Brennan. Christian's telling me to plug the Nav in the comments. I've done it, but I'll do it again. Everyone get down the Nav, have some Boxing Day beers. It's been a good day. I'm genuinely so relieved and so happy that we can talk about a win. It's been so depressing and hard doing these game after game and trying to find the positives. So to actually have a flurry of them going into Man United is great, and we'll be back. What day is it? Like literally, what day is it? Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday today. We're not even going to let that Luton goal dampen our spirits, are we?
Oh, they scored. Right, okay.
That'll be a draw. Don't worry. Yeah, it's Tuesday. We're back on Thursday, the 28th. We'll preview the Man United game with Greg and Emily, and then we'll do a post-match stream. I think it's me and Lewis, so good to get Lewis's take on that game. It'll be about 9 o'clock, so like I say, I'm going to the match. So do join us for all of that. In the meantime, Temps, thank you very much.
Cheers, man. I'll go and get dressed again now.
Glory hunting Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. How do I get one of those mugs? I need one. Get me one immediately, Matt.
Well, yeah, I know you're relatively new to the family, but once I've printed one, it takes me about a year to actually get them.
Yeah, I've heard that. They've said that, yeah.
Well, it's well deserved. It is true. Thanks for everyone who's watching along. Very much appreciated. Well over 400 of you with us straight after the game, which is great. Enjoy the rest of your Boxing Day. How could you not? And in the meantime, we shall see you soon.